Hello, another podcast from Az and Luke, the FPL Top Guns that we've now settled finally on the name for, mostly because of the graphic. Thanks FPL Aristocrat for that, by the way. It's pretty awesome. So we're putting this out. I'll probably be putting this out Monday morning, which is a bit earlier than usual. But Luke has got real life things going on. Luke, I mean, shifts and work and stuff. That's not helpful for our podcast, is it?
Just not on, is it? To be honest, trust me, I'd love to sack off work and just sit at home talking to strangers on the internet, but unfortunately,
That's just
I
your
have to
weekend.
actually earn some money. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I know. We're all there, aren't we? Yeah. So it's going out. Yeah. Obviously before the United and Wolves game. So this could all be completely useless information by then, but hopefully not, because we're going to cover some of the big talking points of the weekend and look ahead to Game Week 3. Game weeks are flying past now. 2 down already. So let's have a brief recap as to how we've done. I know Luke is absolutely dying to tell you all how he's done this week, because you made a good transfer, didn't you?
yeah. Don't be so shocked. I do make good transfers, as always. It just doesn't work out for me. They're always good transfers. They just don't work out. No, who am I kidding? They're usually shocking. Pukki party, man. And I'll be honest, the only reason I did it, because I was so set on keeping King, was the fact that Pukki was rising on that Friday night. So if it wasn't for price rises, I wouldn't do it. And I just thought, I'm going to have to do this, because I knew that next week I'd be getting rid of King anyway, because obviously I didn't want him against City. And to be honest, I always had him in mind for those 2 games. And I just thought, what am I waiting for? I don't want to have that 0.1 and then be priced out for him. So I thought that King might do all right. And I wasn't even sure that Pukki would do well. And then obviously I did it for the price rise. Thought, what have I done here? I thought I was going to play patient this year. King then scores in the first 2 minutes of the game. I'm like, here we go again. Here we go again. I thought this is going to be a nightmare now. And then the Finnish man just finished all his chances so well. So good.
I mean, you must be buzzing with that transfer. I mean, because anyone who listened to the
Mate.
Scoutcast on Tuesday, I mean, you did a very passionate rant about patience, didn't you? About you'd advise people not to do that transfer, blah blah blah. But you did your maverick thing, didn't you? You went against it. You did the transfer, and I mean, it really did pay off.
Yeah, see, usually I say to people, like, I'm quite good at giving advice, but then I never follow it and I do the opposite. And usually the advice works out okay, and what I do doesn't. But this time it flipped around. So hopefully I can keep that up for 37 weeks and I might win FPL. It'll be amazing.
What rank you
But
at?
yeah,
You must.
I'm on 29k, I think.
Wow, nice.
But it'll have dropped after today because I've only had Perez return me a fantastic 2 points. So
Oh
that's it.
yeah, we'll be talking about him later. Yeah, because I mean, you had a strong one, didn't you? De Bruyne, Dean, Pukki, like you had loads of players coming in.
Yeah, so Pukki 17, obviously. Sterling captain, not great with 6, but obviously better than Salah, so that's all you needed. De Bruyne coming in with 11, and then Digne with his 11 as well. The rest of them all 2s and 1s. Obviously, Heaton again shining out of 1 when I thought he might actually beat Pope this week, but again, Pope beat him, so that's slightly concerning. But apart from that, all good. I've still got Jota to go as well, and I'm on 61, so 63 it is, I suppose. We'll see.
It's a good score. I mean, nearly, well, kind of 20, 30 points better than me. I'm on 39 with Jota to play. Just no one really did anything of much note. Trossard scored, and then it got disallowed, and then he scored again. I mean, that was quite nice.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's just a sea of 2s and 3s. I'm really upset with Sigurdsson. I thought, I've been saying for a while, he's the kind of player you've got to keep in and, just hope for the best. And he should have had an assist from that Richarlison miss. Absolutely ridiculous. So, and I even said when we first started, like, I didn't think he was worth more than Dean, like, because he's 2 million more than Dean. And, I think when I got a bit excited because when Everton signed Keane and when they signed Iwobi, I actually thought, that could really help them going forward. Neither of them have really featured much. So I'm hoping that once they're in the team and they sort of get up to speed, that Sixton's points should increase. So I'm keeping the faith with him for now, but he needs to start delivering, really, because he's quite a lot of money and there's quite a lot of players. I mean, midfield, there's so many options now to think about who we're going to talk about. So yeah, not the best week for me, but I'm not going to do anything rash. I don't think. I've got 2 free transfers, so have a bit of a shake up. Perez is definitely going though. He was awful today.
We'll talk about that later. But you know, Watford actually did better than Everton in inspected goals. I looked at, which I was surprised at because I put Watford as potentially being the whipping boys, and then they actually possibly should have won that game according to expected data anyway. So I was a bit surprised about that. But yeah, Sigurdsson, that miss was pretty shocking. But I'm extremely happy about Trossard scoring because again, like I said, the last one I've been tipping him for a lot of people, and I really thought he would start the home game. And then obviously when he scored and it got ruled out, I was like, no. Even though I didn't got him, I really wanted him to score because he's like, yeah, he's one of those sort of.
I mean, he's a player. He is a player. I tell you, and if I can't see any reason why he is going to miss loads of games because I think his flexibility across the different across the line is something that I think Potter's really going to like. So I think that first game probably was a bit of a blip, but I'm thinking now he's probably going to be the key man in the Brighton team. So I'm happy to keep on to him. Brighton's fixtures are decent right up until sort of game week 7. So I think we've got some time. We should get some more points out of him until then.
Yeah, he's a decent price. Whether he misses out, it's not going to be too much of an issue. He might get rotated, but the thing is, if he keeps putting performances in like that, then he's going to have to play him, isn't he? When he scored that goal, everyone going over to him and everything. I don't know if you watched it. Well, you will have watched it because you're a Brighton fan. But I know, obviously, home game debut goal, everyone's going to be a bit excited. But it seemed a bit more than that, as if to say, "Look, you are the man. You are the main man. We know you're the dude. You're going to do it for us." It's what it felt like, anyway. So
yeah, he is the man. He's the dude. Exactly what he is. The thing is, I mean, he kind of. We talk about him like he's only 0.7% owned. He's coming under a lot of pressure because there are lots of options emerging around his price. I mean, you've got Mason Mount scored today at 6 million. I think he could be strong. He's taking step pieces and he scored. I mean, the goal he scored today was great. Nicking the ball, running and slotting in. I mean, and Diddy had a bit of egg on his face until he made up for it later, but. I think from a fantasy perspective, Mount looks like he's just completely ahead of Barkley now. That goal will only help, strengthen his cause. And then you've got, I forgot how to pronounce his name, Ceballos. Ceballos. There you go.
Mate, you told me you looked it up before this podcast.
I did. I've panicked. I've forgotten.
You bottled it.
It's Ceballos. Yeah. And yeah, really upset because I tipped him, in the first podcast. Thought he was going to be great. He had a little knock, so I didn't put him in my own team, and yeah, he gets 11 points against Burnley. So
yeah, I'll be honest, I wasn't really feeling that pick I wasn't really feeling it, but I tipped my hat to because he looks to be really fucking good. I'll be honest, I don't really understand if that was just more of a one-off and he can't match those levels again. But if you were to base that performance on the rest of the season, I'm thinking Santi Cazorla, centre of midfield for Arsenal, when he was top goal scorer in Sky once at 6 million. I don't think he was top scorer in FPL because obviously you get rewarded points differently, but he wasn't far off of it. So
I think it depends. It depends what happens with Ozil, because in my mind, I thought he'd be a good pick. So I thought he's either going to replace Ramsey and be getting into the box and taking some of the goal scoring burden off some of the others, if they want a midfielder who scores goals, or he's going to be the Ozil replacement because Emery didn't really seem to like him last year, and then he's going to be playing at number 10 for Arsenal at 5.5. So I thought either way, that's going to be, he's going to be really good value. I mean, his expected assists and goals was really low. He got quite lucky, I think, with the 2 assists he got. But you got a 5.5 midfielder who's playing quite advanced and taking all the set pieces.
Yeah, I'm not even sure he was advanced, but he was also deep. He was just everywhere. It was just everywhere. A great debut.
Yeah.
Part of me does think, like you say, when you get assists like he did get them, there is an element of luck involved there. So how much can that continue? But 5.5 million, all you really need is that he's starting every game, really. Which is my only other thing I'll throw out there. That I just don't trust Emery at all. I mean, playing Aubameyang right wing for the first half, Arsenal were dreadful in that first half, and I don't know what he was doing. I mean, I know Lacazette coming in, he's put him up number 9, and you kind of have to play him there. But Aubameyang left was where he's at least done well in the past, and then he puts him on the right, and then he doesn't start Pepe, who, yeah, I know fitness and stuff. Maybe we ought to go with that, but I would have just put Aubameyang left and. Even though Mkhitaryan was terrible, played him right, I was pigeonholed someone else in there. I wouldn't have just switched to Aubameyang to accommodate it, which is just keeps doing. This man's if Aubameyang played for City, I'm pretty sure we'd score 35 goals in the season.
Yeah,
so it's just you need to use that properly, but whatever.
Yeah, it's a strange one. I mean, I think with Ceballos though, he's similar to Alexander-Arnold in a way, because he can haul or he might get benched, and so he's not going to be for everyone because a lot of people aren't going to like seeing their players benched or, played in weird positions or anything like that. But, points are points at the end of the day. So if he hauls one week, misses out the next, hauls the next week,
Yeah, it don't matter, does it?
it doesn't matter as long as you're getting the points on the board. So I think he's going to frustrate people throughout the season because that's what Emery's type of players does. But I think for 5.5, you're not expecting him to haul every week. So as long as he keeps delivering a couple of assists, every now and then I think you're going to be quite happy with that. The only trouble
Definitely,
is,
yeah.
it's the fixtures, isn't it? I mean, they've got Liverpool away next, and then they've got Spurs, and then they start getting a bit better. So the problem is, you're getting him now, bearing in mind his price is going up tonight. It looks like,
I know.
and by the end of he could be 6 million by the time the good fixtures come around.
It just feels wrong to bring someone in before even Monday's games are finished, doesn't it? But honestly, I am looking at it. It's, oh man, it really feels wrong to do it, especially when you're bringing in someone who's now going to be playing against two of my Liverpool defenders. So I don't even want him to do anything. It's just madness. But yeah, I guess we can touch on that at the end when we decide what we're doing with our teams or whatever, because he's one that I'm looking at. But
yeah, same here. Right. So I mean, we kind of have started already. It feels a bit weird to say let's start. That was kind of the last point we're going to make. I think we've pretty covered Ceballos now. But let's go back to your triumphant game week 2 with Pukki. So obviously you moved early for him. Lots of people are moving for him now. He's already gone up in price again. So he's the first player to go up 0.2. He's now 6.7. I mean, we said right at the start, whenever Norwich score, it's going to go through him. That's 4 goals now for Norwich, and he scored all 4. So they're an attacking side. He's 6.7 million. Is he essential?
I don't think you can drop that bomb with those fixtures. I don't think you can drop that bomb, but
I've dropped it.
I think yeah. I mean, I obviously thought he was essential enough to get into my team despite the games. I wouldn't say he's essential because it's Norwich. Ultimately, they're gonna get spanked or not score a goals in quite a few games, even if they do try. So no, I wouldn't say he's essential, but he's a very good option to have. And if he's rising in price, once someone's he's the first person to rise 0.2, like he says, like he's going to continue to rise for a little while because that will sort of reminate with people for a while. Even if his performance go off, I would have thought he'll still be like a go-to because people will see he's risen and they'll just keep going to him like without thinking twice, without looking at the fixtures and stuff. And it's like he absolutely dominated the bonus.
Even if he blanks the next 2 games, people are still going to look at those forwards and he'll still be up there and they'll still be bringing him in.
That's what I mean. Yeah, he'll be there for not only will he have risen in price, but he'll be high up in the point scoring. So he'll just be getting brought in regardless, I would have thought. So if nothing else, he's a decent money maker. And apart from Barnes, who else at that price is doing anything? So if you've got any player around that area, it's probably worth doing it. So yeah, not essential, but definitely a smart player, I would say, at the moment. I don't want to say hashtag called it, but dominated the bonus. But you're always going to do that when you score a hat-trick, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, essential is a funny word, isn't it? Because, no one's essential, really. I mean, Jimenez last year, I mean, I didn't have him and he killed me. I think, at 5.5 to 6, he probably was essential just because of how much that spot was then just... you didn't have to worry about him for the rest of the season. You just left him in and then you had more money to play with around the rest of your team. If you get 6.7s, quite significantly more than that.
It's also the way that Jimenez went about it.
Yeah.
It's also the way, because obviously Jimenez was essential in the fact, but we didn't really know that because he sort of just ticked along nicely with little bits here or there. Pukki's just come straight out, smashed a goal against Liverpool and a hat-trick next game. So it's kind of different the way it's worked as well.
Yeah.
Like we kind of almost, Pukki's kind of saying, I'm essential, pick me. Whereas Jimenez, we didn't really work it out for most of the season, or you didn't work it out at all. So
yeah.
It's just weird.
You think about who Pukki's played against. I mean, he's played Liverpool. We knew they were going to be a bit ropey from pre-season because they looked it and they look, a bit leggy already. And then Newcastle, we knew were going to be rubbish. But I mean, you look at his next game. His next games aren't great. But I mean, Chelsea at home, they look leaky anyway. West Ham look leaky. I mean, then they've got City. You never know. But then they've got Burnley, Palace, Villa. I mean, you look at clean sheet. There's 2 teams that kept a clean sheet this week: Everton and Sheffield United. Everyone else conceded. So it tells me that, actually,
Madness.
the strikers and the attacking mids, against anyone can perform. So yeah, I'm probably bringing him in this week. I'm looking at getting rid of Wilson for him. I mean, Wilson's got 2 assists. He's ticked over quite nicely. He hasn't got penalties though. He's got City and then Leicester and then Everton, which I think are 3 quite sort of fairly
It's not great, is it?
wins. And one of the reasons I wanted Wilson over King was so that I had the option of downgrading, to someone. I was actually had my eye on one of the Chelsea strikers initially. I'm not going near them now. But if I had like Josh King or someone now, I'd be priced out of it, like you were, and you made the move early to be able to get him. So I'm happy to have Wilson to downgrade to Pukki, and then that frees up some money to get rid of Perez, who's just an absolute waste of space. So yeah, Pukki is good for me because he's not the cheapest, but he is a lot cheaper than Wilson, so it lets me do some other stuff. So yeah, I'm going to be bringing him in, and we can all get on the Pukki party. I mean, that gif's so annoying on Twitter, but I can't wait to post it.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying though that everyone's going to get on one already. I want my shiny new toy to myself, but I think everyone will be jumping on it.
Yeah, can't have everything.
What about Liverpool defence then? I mean, yeah, I know. I can't really keep that one under wraps, unfortunately.
You can't, no.
The only thing I'll say is, well, I suppose they knew this before it, is that teams will now be watching him like a hawk and target him as he's like the only one who scored any goals. But I mean, everyone knew that before, didn't they? And they didn't stop him then. So
yeah. I think he's one of these players who I think he's just going to score. I mean, he's not going to win the Golden Boot, and he's not going to score, 3 goals every match, but he's gonna score goals this season, like for sure, because he just creates stuff out of nothing. As soon as there's a mistake or a slip or anything, he's just in. He's really switched on.
You say he's not going to win the Golden Boot, but who was that Egyptian who played for Wigan up front who nearly won it?
Oh yeah, that wasn't Zaki, was it?
Yeah, I think it might have been actually.
I'd love for
Amir Zaki, was that it?
Yeah. I can't remember. Go on then. Okay, Luke's calling Pukki for the Golden Boot then.
Hey, go through my tweets, mate. I said he's currently leading the Golden Boot after game 1. But he was after game 1, but didn't think he was actually going to have any chance.
I know, crazy. I mean, the trouble is, though, any striker that plays Newcastle is then going to catch him up. So, kind of biases a bit. Okay, so you mentioned double Liverpool defence. Yeah, so you've got double Liverpool defence, right?
I have, sadly.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, what are you thinking? Are you looking to get rid of one?
I mean, the thing is, there's quite a lot of money in them, and if they're not returning points, it's the instant go-to if you want to try and free some up, I think, or one of the go-tos. For me, I've got a slightly different setup to you and most other people where I've got De Bruyne in midfield, so a lot of my money's tied up in him, so I don't really have anywhere else where I could go to apart from one of my premium defenders. The thing is, all the players I'm looking at the moment are like cheaper than the ones I've got, like Mane instead of Salah and Ceballos, I can't say it, instead of
an S.
Okay, Ceballos.
Yeah, I think
we'll go with that. Ceballos instead of Perez. Do you know what I mean? They're all cheaper than the player that I've got in place. So it's like, yeah, I could free some money up by getting rid of Alexander-Arnold, for example. But what I would actually do with that, I'm not sure. Without making, like, if I had a wild card, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be picking 2 Liverpool defenders right now. I'd be picking probably just Van Dijk for now. But I don't think you can really base it off these 2 games still. I know they were dodgy pre-season, and I know the defence has just looked dodgy full stop. But I don't see how that's just completely changed from last season. And I think eventually it will click into gear because they're just too good. So that's my other thought process, that it will happen. And let's not forget, they did actually get, Alexander-Arnold and Van Dijk both got attacking returns in the first game. So we're 1 for 2 on the game so far.
Yep.
And they've had incredibly bad luck with the keeper situation. I know they were ropey before that with the defence, but it's not helped. Obviously, when your keeper just kicks the ball straight to Ings like an absolute prat.
I mean, then it's ridiculous, isn't it? Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. So I think maybe we're being too harsh. Like I said, if I had a wild card, I'd have one in right now with a view to getting another one back. But for now, I don't really see the need to downgrade one for my team. But if you're looking for cash, I could see why others would do it.
Yeah.
Right now, that's where I come from, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, to me, they had the first game they got Alexander-Arnold and Van Dijk got attacking returns. Robertson, I think, was quite unlucky not to get some as well. So I think the 3 of them in that match, I think, performed quite well, really. Last match, I think you've got to take with a bit of a pinch of salt. You had a ridiculous error from Adrian, and the fact they just come off that Super Cup game where they were probably absolutely knackered. I mean, the game was on at midnight their time, then they had to fly back, and then they had a game the day after. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous, really, in terms of fitness, and they looked,
Yeah.
they didn't look quite right, I don't think, in the first half, and then they kind of got better in the second. But I mean, after Arsenal, they then got Burnley and Newcastle. Two decent games. Then they got Chelsea. Then they got Sheffield United. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be some clean sheets in those 4 games.
Yeah. I think it's a fairly solid bet they'll be getting clean sheets pretty soon. That's what.
And I
I
mean,
don't just take those 2 games.
yeah, and Van Dijk 52% ownership. Like, it's a real risk to get rid of him. I think Alexander Arnold's probably the one that you could potentially look to drop. I mean, you've got someone like Maguire or Wan-Bissaka at 1.5 less. You've got Dean if you haven't got him. You've got someone like Laporte. There are lots of options around it. I just don't really want to be using my transfers in defence.
Nah, and they're nowhere near as fun. I still really like Trent. I still think he's going to get loads of bags of points. And Southampton's pretty much the worst team you want to play after, like you said, coming back late and having a midweek game, because Hasenhüttl works them hard,
Yeah.
man. They run non-stop. They go all around. And Redmond's just annoying as hell. They concern me the way they're performing, but it doesn't concern me for the future because I've just got the confidence that they're still comfortably the second best team in the league, and clean sheets will come as a result of that, if nothing else.
I think you've got to give them longer, because I mean, you look at defenders last season and just how many points, like so many of the top point scorers were defenders last year. We're going to know after probably about 5 or 6 weeks whether that trend's likely to continue. I mean, if Liverpool haven't kept a clean sheet, by game week 6, then I think then we're going to be thinking, right, well, they're not going to anywhere near match what they did last season, because they'll already have conceded more, more goals than they probably did in the whole of last season. So that's when I'm thinking of, you can maybe switch things around. But I mean, for now, I'm getting them because Liverpool have got the best defence in the league, along with City, and in Van Dijk and Alexander-Arnold, they've got 2 of the most attacking defenders, along with Dean, I'd say. So I'm
definitely. And you only have to look.
keen.
You only have to look to Dean. You only have to look to Dean for an example of like when it's actually worked. Everyone was saying we kind of need this guy in our team. They've got great games. Everton were great defensively last season, and he's got an attacking output. And that guy's performed in both games, clean sheet and then a clean sheet and an attacking returns. So it worked for him, and I'm pretty sure it'll work for the others that were touted as having that same sort of potential, clean sheets and attacking return. So that's the way I look at it. I just think Dini's got a little bit more lucky, although he might be injured now. And Liverpool goalkeeper situations, just, I mean, who could expect that? That's the only other thing, isn't it? If they're having to play that clowning goal every week, you are going to be heart in your mouth. But
I know, yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully Alisson will be back. Well, when's the international break? He'll probably be back after that, right? Is that like game week 5?
I think they'll put him back when he's not fully fit, put it that way.
Yeah, I would. I'd rather have Alisson with one leg than Adrian. Okay, so I mean, like, definitely. So if we're saying, save your money in defence, I mean, there is an option to save your money elsewhere. I mean, most people have got Salah. Mane has come in like an absolute hurricane. Great sort of cameo against Norwich. Amazing game in the Super Cup, and then absolutely amazing game against Southampton. $1 million cheaper. I'm tempted.
And he did it in the midweek as well.
Yeah, I'm tempted. I'm tempted to do Salah to Mane. Frees up a bit of money. He's in better form. He's got the better home record that he had last season.
He takes up better positions.
Yeah,
that's the key thing for me. Salah is so far on the right wing in that last game, most of the time, and Mane was just more central a lot, and he's just hungry. And look, they're both great. Salah could easily outscore Mane on any given game week, and it could be the other way around. But I think you preach into the choir when you talk to me. I'm a big fan of having Mane over Salah, and if he was fit to start the season, he'd probably be in my team right now. But it's just the whole thing at home again. I just think at home he's far more deadly, and that's the only time I'm probably going to be captaining anyone apart from Sterling. It's going to be pretty much Sterling perma captain unless Mane's at home against a weak side. Unless Liverpool at home to a weak side. And Mane's the better captain at home, I think. And he's even scoring away now, apparently.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It could easily switch around any moment. But Mane is just on fire at the moment. His finishing's just incredible. He's just such a good player. The way he shifted the ball that fast and got the shot away into the corner. Like the two Southampton players, you couldn't even fault them for their defending. I don't think there. One was really close to him, and the other closed down the space instantly from the shift. But his acceleration to get to that and then just bang it straight in the corner. That's the kind of thing Aguero used to do all the time: shift the ball like that and then just hit it, and there's just no one could stop it basically. And Mane just stinks of that at the moment, so I really want him near my team. It's just whole that, like, when am I going to be in a position to, without a wild card, to have that luxury of just doing that one beautiful transfer of Salah to Mane, which just feels like it could instantly punish you the second you do it on that game day. That's the problem.
Yeah, I guess if you're using that million to strengthen another position, though, then you've got the added kind of bonus.
That's true.
Even if it's for a hit, you just hope that. I mean, Perez to Martial would have been an example if Martial hadn't gone up in price. But doing something along those lines to use the money to strengthen somewhere else, I think would be the only sort of.
Yeah, that's a good point. It would feel a lot better if you did it as part of a 2 or a 3 move. I think I don't know why, but it probably would.
It's funny, isn't it? Because it feels like we haven't really had much of a fair chance with the Salah and Mane debate, because we had to go for Salah at the start of the season because Mane was basically said he was going to be on the bench. So I think it would have been really interesting to see if Mane and Salah were both fit for that Game Week 1 fixture. I think it would be a pretty even split between them.
I don't think it would. Most of the fantasy community, they hang out the back of Salah, man. They would never go anywhere else. You send them a rate my team without Salah in, and they're like, oh my God, what the fuck are you playing at? Are you mental? It's not worth the hassle. I know from last season. It's just they hang out the back of him like he's God's gift, and he is great. But when you start talking 13 and 12.5 million and stuff, you need to be, captain pretty much every week. That's what I said before. And I mean, FPL obviously didn't think he was quite that after his wonder. Don't get me wrong, the first season was an absolute wonder season, but they put him at 30 million and now he's 12.5, so they didn't quite feel it. And even last season, apart from the Christmas period and then right at the end, he was pretty bad in some of those periods. And I don't mean bad as in a player or for Liverpool. I just mean in fantasy terms. He did a lot of not great returns, put it that way. And Mane obviously showed. I mean, Mane, let's not forget, he'd be sitting there with a golden boot on his own if he had penalties. He scored those 22 goals without penalties.
Yeah.
And I know that doesn't necessarily mean anything for fantasy because it doesn't really matter how you get them. But it just stinks of this guy is just an absolute goal getter at the moment, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's Golden Boot winner or in and around again.
I think it's to use your eloquent phrasing of hanging out the back of Salah, I think it's maybe a little bit harsh, because the reason why people were so into Salah and so I would have been the same if I saw a rate my team without Salah at the start of the season. I'd have been like, you've ruined your season already. But it's because they had Norwich at home and because it was Liverpool's best attacker. I think if Mane had been fit and I'd seen a team with Mane instead of Salah, I'd have been like, okay, fair enough. You've got Liverpool attack covered against Norwich. And
fair enough, but I think
beyond.
You're more open than most people. I think a lot of people have turned you away. But now I can see all over Twitter, everyone's like, oh my God, Mane is actually good. Maybe 1 million to save him. Maybe it is. So I think people are becoming more open to it. But I think, if they were both fit, I think most people would have still been on the Salah train. But
the thing is, Salah is a proper confidence player, and you look at that one-on-one he missed, the other day.
He misses them quite often.
He does. Yeah, when he was really scoring, in his first season, when he got like over 30 goals, he wasn't missing those. He was a lot more clinical than that. He might have missed a couple, but I mean, not one like that. I mean, he was literally through. Like that was it. Like it was. It was done.
I think things have changed though, because that first season Liverpool played a different way. They played a different style. They were all out offence. They couldn't defend, and Salah found himself in the positions a lot more often. Then they were like defensively sound last season, obviously amazing, and played a slightly different way. It was noted to everyone. They didn't try and go out and spank teams. And Salah played a slightly different position. Even played up top instead of Firmino to start the season, which didn't really work out. Then he drifted out wide again. But they just play in a different way that I think, where similar to City last season, where people still had Aguero, and really it was Aguero was more of the distraction and Sterling was the shadow striker who always ended up getting on the end of things or being the cutback guy or whatever, and he would get the goals, and it took a long time for people to realise that. And I think Mane, not quite the same setup, but essentially he is the real striker in that team for me. Firmino's like the link man. Salah is like tries to create, makes things happen, can do it all, don't get me wrong. Like I said, good players, they try to get involved to get it all, but Mane is basically, I get the goals, that's what I do.
Yeah.
So that's why I think he could comfortably be worth it. Anyway,
so based on that, Mane is the best pick then.
I think so. Right now, I don't think it can be argued right now, but you could easily eat your words because Mane hasn't got a particular history apart from the last 2 years of being that kind of player. So it could just be a hot streak and he turns to hot turd. You never know. But
I miss pairing them together. I loved having Salah and Mane in my team last season. It was so nice. It's just
yeah,
pretty much guaranteed points every week. Okay, so probably our last topic of conversation. It covers 2 points really. Firstly, it's Spurs in general because they've now played Man City. Their fixtures are a lot better. They got a 2-2 draw with Man City despite having 3 attempts to 30 something. I mean, I can't really remember a more one-sided game that I've seen. Did you watch it?
yeah, they had again 0.22 expected. I mean, when Moura come
Absolutely.
on and scored with his first touch, I just thought, fucking hell, how unlucky can
Absolutely
you be?
ridiculous. I mean, the goal getting ruled out, the handball. I mean, joke as well. Yeah, ridiculous. I mean, and so it makes you think though. Spurs. They've got a good run of fixtures. They've clearly bought well. They've got a good manager. They've got all this stuff. I look at their team, and there's no one I want. I mean, the one player who I do kind of want is Son, but he's 9.5, which to me is a lot of money for Son. Like he was 8.5 last season and good value for it, so I can see why he's gone up. But 9.5 is a lot. Is he going to go straight into the team? Do you reckon?
I think he will because Pochettino was giving him minutes in pre-season and stuff, almost as if like, as soon as you're back, you're coming straight in, sort of thing. Because he could have just used this time to just get him fit in training and playing under 21 games or whatever. I don't know, but you could have. Do you know what I mean? It kind of like he used him in quite a few end game friendlies, and I just think it's because he wants him to come straight in. I also think that he is really key to the way they play. So
But
I think
Lamella and Moore have both started strongly. So
they have, but Lamella won't last. He never does. There'll be one reason or another that he'll come out eventually.
but that's the key thing because I think Spurs' next game is Newcastle at home. So if you're bringing in any Tottenham player, this is the game you want them for because they could win this game 5-0. It wouldn't surprise anyone. I mean, if Norwich can beat them 3-1, I think Spurs could absolutely destroy them. Does Son play is the first question.
It's a fair point, but I think Son comes straight in because he's easily their best player after Kane, and for me, in terms of getting goals. Anyway, Eriksen will probably be there or thereabouts.
I'm not convinced he comes straight in, and I would really like a game to see whether he does.
But you don't have a game as
we don't have a game. We don't have a game. Look, this is the problem. So I think lots of people are going to be moving for Son, and I wouldn't be surprised if he did miss out.
He's kind of a perfect wildcard pick if you're doing it, because then if it doesn't really work out, you can just move away. You get that 1 week sort of one player gamble you can do in your team sort of thing.
Exactly.
But I think even let's say he doesn't start, right, which I think he will. There's no doubt in my mind that he's coming on for minutes. And even if he sees the last 20, 30 minutes against Newcastle when at home, like I say, it could end up being 5-0. I'd be shocked if he wasn't involved in a goal.
Yeah. Well, that's true. I mean, we talk about involvement in a goal, though. I mean, really, jewel in the crown, Spurs is Harry Kane. If you saw his heat map against City, it's appalling. Like, he looks like he's playing like Sissoko. Like, he just always touches are in the in the midfield area.
Said that before.
We knew that. But like that just isn't. It just does not sit well. I know he's got Newcastle at home next. He's probably going to score in it, but long term, I just don't want him. I just don't want him at all.
No, neither do I. But I think it's hard. It's harsh because that City game, I think that happened to most. But that's the perfect game you'd want the Son in. Son would be the one who'd be running and trying to stretch them in that game, and the one on the last man. And Kane's the one who drops in and tries to win the ball, battle, and play a through ball or whatever, and obviously hopes for a cutback or a penalty to get a goal. So I don't think you can judge too much against City, but we already said it in our other podcast, and we're both on the fact that I don't really fancy Kane at the moment, and we'll see. He'll score. I mean, he could quite easily score a hat-trick versus Newcastle, but the detriment it does to my team elsewhere, I'm not really too much of a fan at the moment anyway. But they've got nice games, though.
I know. I mean, they've got Newcastle, and then they've got Arsenal, and he does like a goal against Arsenal. And then they've got Palace at home, who look like a broken team already after 2 games. So that's three pretty decent fixtures for Spurs and Kane. And I think if you've got Kane, you're probably going to be quite confident. Maybe we're just kind of, trying to trick ourselves into thinking, we're going to be all right without him. Because I'd captain him against Newcastle for sure if I had him.
Yeah, and we've said at the end of it, we've said it for other ways. It doesn't matter how the points go in. So if he's playing centre back, it don't matter if he scores 2 or 3 goals in the game. If he scores a penalty, a halfway line shot, and gets a lucky strike from somewhere else from 40 yards or whatever, it don't matter at the end of the day. And it's more just I don't like watching it and the fun element of like just seeing him not in and around the area I want him to be, which is counterintuitive, right? Because if I was just playing the game by data, it shouldn't matter. But it's just I would much rather have Son whenever they line up because that guy just excites me every time he's on the ball and driving at them and getting in the right areas, and he's not afraid to take shots either. So
because I mean he's definitely the pick I'd go for as well. And then I look at the rest of the Spurs team, and in defence, there's no one I want. Ericsson, he doesn't look. He had a good cameo against Villa, but didn't look. Well, I mean, no one looked very good against City.
His head's still not quite right, is it? So we don't know.
He's a risk, isn't he? And he's quite a lot of money. You've got Ali that's out. You've got Ndombele who, he's getting some attacking returns, but they'll dry up sooner or later, right? He's not an offensive player. So fantasy wise, he doesn't seem like a great shout. And that's sort of about it, really, isn't it? I mean, there's not really that much excitement with Spurs assets, even though I think they're going to have a really good season. And if they're grinding out draws against City like that, then that's something they wouldn't have done in the last few years.
No, and I guess it's the whole, like we said, if you're doing your wild card now, and I'd look to either put Son or Kane in it, to be honest, like for now, because their games are that good, and because we've already mentioned there's loads of cheap players that have sort of shown their head that could be really good. So I think for now, considering only really Barnes and Pukki that aren't premium strikers have sort of shown, forgive me if I'm missing someone, but it's only those two that seem to have shown their head as being like good cheap strikers at the moment, and I wouldn't really want. Well, I suppose you could go with both of them, or Jota, but you could get Kane in and then Ceballos and McGinn, or go for a cheaper defender or Emerson at the back or stuff, and you could make it work, I think, on a wild card. But I want Son. I've got Kevin De Bruyne at the moment, and that I always had penciled in. When Son comes back, he was going to be my move for De Bruyne if I had no other fires. But can I take De Bruyne out after this?
No, you can't. And this is it. I mean, this is the other problem with Son and his price is that I think De Bruyne is becoming a pretty, people are starting to flock to him now, and you can see why. He's going to be a player who just ticks over throughout the whole season. So if you're getting De Bruyne in, you're pretty much sticking with him, right? As long as he's fit, he's going to keep returning. So you probably don't have to worry about that spot. And then then you've got one of Salah or Mane, and then you've got Sterling. That does not leave you enough room to do a Kane, or a Son alongside them.
And that's why I think it's more of a wild card. If you've got the Manes and people instead of Salahs, you'll probably be able to. I mean, I had a look at my team in 4 moves. I could easily get Kane swap. I could swap Jota to Kane if I downgraded Perez to Ceballos, Salah to Mane, and Robertson to any 4.5 or 5 million defender. So I could do it fairly easily. But obviously, I ain't going to be doing it in a move just like that, and it could take me 4 weeks to get to that. And by then,
that's a wild card move, isn't it? When you're changing your entire structure around for something like that, that's when you play your wild card. And I think quite a few people are playing their wild cards now, and I do kind of understand it, because if you think the value has come out of defence, and these defenders aren't going to be returning the points they are last season, and you've got all your money tied up in your Trents and your Virgils and all that stuff, then you do need to rebalance the squad. And if you're wild carding now, if you're getting on that early, if you get it right and you do readdress the balance, then then you're going to be getting the points and you're going to be ahead of everyone.
Yeah, that's why I think Spurs are quite dangerous this week, because there'll be quite a few wildcard teams that I think would be silly not to include some sort of Spurs, which will probably be Kane, but possibly Son for some shrewd people out there. So they're a bit of a worry with their games coming up. I think they could see them cause a lot of rank sways.
I'm dreading it. I'm dreading it. I'm dreading that Spurs v Newcastle game, because I'm going to be going without any Spurs, and I think they could absolutely destroy. I mean, Steve Bruce. Let's talk about Newcastle for a second. I mean, he benches Longstaff, their best player, £50 million link with United, and he says, "Oh, I was protecting him." You're protecting him in it's the second game of the season. This is arguably like one of your most important games. Like Norwich are exactly the kind of team that you need to be beating. Like, why not protect him against Arsenal and play him against I've got a friend who's a big Newcastle fan, and he was like, Steve Bruce has got so little goodwill from the fans anyway, that he had nothing to gain from benching Longstaff. It was just. He thinks it was like a kind of power play, that you're not too big for this club or whatever. But you can't bench him and then lose 3-1 to a newly
No,
promoted
is that what
side.
he said? Did he not mean protecting him for injury or something, or did
He
he
said
actually?
he had he had quite a big injury last season,
Oh,
and so
right.
he's not rushing it. But come on, he's had all of pre-season. He's played against Arsenal. He's had a week like he brings him on for 30, 40 minutes anyway, and he gets an assist. Like, you're not
Yeah.
protecting him. Like I just don't get it. I just do not
Former
understand.
Sunderland manager, it's just never going to work out. Even if he won the league, I just think they'd struggle to like him. That's the problem. So, yeah, I don't think that's going to work out, to be honest with you. And Newcastle, despite having a pretty decent game week one, suddenly now look like maybe they could be the whipping boys.
They
I
are
mean,
the whip. They are going to be the whipping boys. I'll tell you, they're going to every game they go into this season. You're going to be thinking they're going to get spanked.
yeah, you're probably right.
But I think if they're getting battered by Norwich, I mean, they could get battered by anyone.
Yeah, you're making me scared, man. You're making me want to do that Kevin De Bruyne to Son move.
I know. It feels a little bit like. Do you remember last season when I think Kane played Huddersfield and he got 2 goals, and then he had Cardiff at home, and everyone I wild carded for Kane. Everyone went crazy for Kane, and then he blanked in that Cardiff
Yeah,
game.
I ignored him in that game. Luckily, I got away with that one. I didn't get him for that, but yeah, I do remember that period.
I fell into that trap. It's whether it's going to be history repeating itself or whether it's not. But I just can't see Newcastle keeping Spurs out in that game. I just can't see them conceding any less
No,
than
but I
3 goals.
suppose the only solace, I guess, in a way, is the fact that they limited Arsenal to 1 goal, although they were at home and Arsenal had picked basically their reserve team. So I don't know whether you can take anything from that, but I mean, they're going to set up completely defensive. They're going to sit back, you would have thought, and that works out for Kane because he ends up right up top of the pitch where he's then suddenly firing 15 shots a game. So
True, and hopefully Ericsson, will still have his head a bit in the clouds, and he's their main kind of creative spark, isn't he? So if he's not, pulling the strings as well as he normally does, then that might limit them. I don't know. I think it's pretty wishful thinking, though.
yeah, I might put money on a Kane hat trick or something and just not get him in and just grimace and bear it. That's all. I ain't going to get him in. That's not happening. So
that might make me feel better. Yeah, I think Son's definitely the one to go through, but I think you've got 2 very different FPL players in Son and De Bruyne. You've got Son, who's explosive. He can easily get a hat trick. He's something he plays more advanced than Kane a lot of the time. Really exciting player to watch. Or you've got De Bruyne, who I know he's getting 11-point hauls, but normally he'll just tick along all season. He'll get you a steady stream of points. He'll get you the occasional haul. I just think either of those 2 are just such good options for 9.5.
yeah, definitely. And it's just I'd be stupid to get rid of De Bruyne right now, right? It'd be absolutely madness.
I definitely wouldn't be doing, especially because De Bruyne's price is going to keep going up as well. And we're still not totally sure what's going to happen with Son in the first game back. But then again, it worked with Pukki, so I don't know why I'm giving you advice.
Yeah, it's not going to last all season. I'm not going to, I'm sure I'm going to be coming to you for advice as very shortly. You called the Ceballos thing, don't worry. I'll remember you for that.
Oh, thanks. That means a lot.
Ceballos, sorry, God's sake.
Ceballos, yeah, it's an S. Don't forget the S. Right, so let's just quickly touch on what you're thinking for next week then, because I think one of the things I said to myself last season, at the end of last season, was Sunday night or Monday, I'm going to write down my transfer thoughts, look at my team, who are my weaknesses, who do I kind of instinctively want to get rid of, and then when it comes to the end of the week, review those, because you see all the stuff on Twitter and you listen to all the podcasts and stuff, and your head can kind of get turned, can't it? So it's quite interesting to go back to what you initially thought. So what are you thinking now? What's your early transfer ideas? Because you've got 1 transfer, right?
I've got 1 transfer, and the one that jumps off the page to me straight away, sadly, I want to add, is basically getting Ceballos in for Perez. And I say sadly for a couple of reasons. One, I already said multiple times we're going to have to be patient with Perez. It's going to be blank brace. So it would not surprise me that I even use those exact words, that he gets a brace against Sheffield United, despite being nowhere near the goal in these last 2 games. It would just be Sod's law rather than actually anything based on his performances, that he gets a brace from nowhere. But so the thing is, he's rising in price, similar to what Pukki was. And I obviously attack that aggressively. It doesn't mean that, therefore, it's going to happen again. I shouldn't use that to base anything on. But if I don't get Ceballos now, you're essentially using almost 0.5 in a way early on in the season, because it just takes that away from you for obviously getting a different player. I know I probably shouldn't think like that, but that is the reality. You know, every player's in 0.5s at the moment, so a 0.1 changes that. And
So you're going to have to do that move tonight then. He's going up tonight.
Exactly, which is just feels ridiculous because I've got Digne who's potentially injured. I don't know. I've then got Jota still to play, so anything can happen to him or in that game. I've then got obviously all the pre-season, all the press conferences to come where any information could come out as to what's happened. It just feels so rash to make that move right now, especially when, as he's less money than Perez, I could just let him rise. Like I could just let that happen. But then, and there's also the fact that Arsenal's games, as we already mentioned, are pretty much shocking. Like I know that he looked great, and obviously they're playing Liverpool, who we just said have looked dodgy at the back, so he could score. Then they're playing Spurs, and they haven't looked that great. It's home for Arsenal, so maybe they could do all right. But we're clutching at straws, really. Those are tough games. It doesn't matter how you dress it up. Those are still tough games. So do I expect him to even score any points? And considering some of those points were a little bit lucky in those two games, possibly not. But does that even matter if I'm just playing for the money? I mean, is Perez going to get me points in those two games? I don't know. I'm all over the place for this decision.
You are, aren't you? I can hear it in your voice.
I told myself I was going to play safe. I was going to do all this stuff, and already I just hate the transfer market, man. It forces me to make moves I wouldn't normally do. I should be able to just let it go, but honestly, can't. It just feels horrible just sitting there thinking, the player you want is not going to be the same price anymore tomorrow, and you might end up doing the move anyway, like in 2 weeks. It's just.
I just feel like the thing with him is, I just think if you get him for 5.5, like he's just such good value at 5.5 that it just makes sense. Like if you want him, I just think you get him. I don't think you really worry about the fixtures. I think if you know you're going to want him, yeah, if you know you're going to want him for an extended period of time, I think now is the time to get him.
It's just the whole thing where King scored in 2 minutes, and then I see Perez is playing Sheffield United. And obviously we didn't think Leicester were going to do... I didn't think Leicester were going to do too much in these first 2 games anyway. I didn't think they'd do much home to Wolves. I thought, that's a tough game. And I thought, obviously, away to Chelsea, I didn't think they'd do too much in that game either. I just thought 6.5 for a player I thought was going to be playing striker is a good price, and I'll be patient with him. And I've kind of held him, like I said, for these next few games that are coming up. So if I get rid and he scores, I can only blame myself for that. There's no other person I can turn to and go, what am I doing? I can't then turn around and say, I hate Perez. It's totally my fault. So that's the only thing that's holding me back, thinking, should I be patient like I told myself I was going to be?
His stats have been so bad the last 2 games. He's been subbed really around 70 minutes. He looked absolutely destroyed when he got subbed off. Like he couldn't even run. I think Maddison picked up the ball in like the final third, and Perez just kind of slowly ambled along the right next to him. And then he got subbed like 10 seconds later. Like he looked knackered.
Always getting us an early sub, like we said. I thought that would happen to him. Part of me thinks that they might just change formation and go 2 up top like he's done in pre-season, where Perez looked a lot better against these weaker sides. And if that happens, and then they suddenly see him lining up top, it could be a completely different ball games. Things change fast in football. Man. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. Maddison in the number 10, and then Vardy and Perez up top. It can easily happen because he played a diamond formation a few times.
I think I think the kind of issue with what you're doing is that, you know, Ceballos is great value, but you're worried that he's not going to deliver points because he's got tough 2 games.
It's points versus price at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas I'm looking at doing Perez to Martial. So, like, I think I haven't really got any worries that Martial's going to deliver because he's got Palace in the next game at home, who you know, we both keep slating, and then he's got Southampton away, which I think are just 2 really good games. So. Yeah, I'm not worried about him matching
that move.
Well, I wouldn't. I don't need to rush it because I can do Wilson to Pukki and then Perez to Martial.
Right, and Martial's not anywhere near rising.
Martial's not rising, but that leaves me like 0.3, 0.4 in the bank. Right, so okay. It's not. I can definitely afford to wait till tomorrow night and just see what happens.
That feels better because it feels like you're less pressured. And obviously, as I was thinking, Martial's obviously playing Monday. Anything can happen with him, but you don't have to make that move. So it's different for me. Whereas I've got Jota playing in that game, and it's odds law, isn't it? Again, he could easily get injured or not do anything. He had a little cameo midweek. Little hammy might go. You just never know. And if that happens, you're like, suddenly, for God's sake. And then news comes out that Digne's out for 3 weeks, which could easily happen. No, I don't think it is. It looks like he's okay. But you just don't know. And that's the thing that sits there thinking, suddenly I'm in a position where my team's looking all right. I'm doing pretty well. And I might have to wildcard because of my stupidity of making a transfer for a player playing away to Liverpool.
Well, yeah, that's where the price is the consideration in this. Because if you're doing Perez to Ceballos, that is because he's an amazing price. You think he's going to return on that price over the season. He could rise to 6 million by the time you decide to get him in a few weeks' time, and you just kind of accept, okay, maybe Perez does outscore him a bit, but in the long run, it was the right move. Or you don't, and you just wait, and you don't worry too much about the price. That's the
You're a very
consideration.
calming influence, as you're very
Well,
calm.
I try to look at it, fairly logically. Whereas I think I don't really like Perez as an option. So I think if you can get a player in who you think is going to do better, then it just makes sense to do that. But Ceballos might not do as well as Perez. I can't, I'm not as confident with that because of the fixtures.
Mm.
But he's such a good price, so that's.
I'll be so upset with myself if Perez scores a brace. Honestly, if he scores one, I won't even care. If he scores two, like I've said, the blank brace, I will be so annoyed with myself. Not him. I'll be annoyed with myself.
If I was making that decision, I'd probably leave it. I'd probably think about leaving Perez for these two games and then making the switch to Ceballos, game week 5. But I mean, that's if I had my heart set on getting Ceballos in. I don't, so I'm more happy to upgrade him.
Anyway, let's move on because there might be plenty of people who don't have Perez that aren't even eyeing up Ceballos, and I've just wasted half an hour of their time. About what I'm going to do for my move.
Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty much it. That's all the things that we said we'd cover. I don't think there's anything. I mean, Lundstram, I'm just looking at your team. Lundstram sat on your bench with 14 points. I mean, he looks like he's going to keep playing in central midfield, and they've lost that Fleck guy, haven't they, now, who looks injured. So that only boosts his chances. So well done, anyone that played him. You didn't. I haven't got him. I know lots of people do have him, though. A lot of people benched him.
I thought he might get a clean sheet at home to Palace, but I didn't think he'd be getting 14 points. So that's why he's first on my bench. And I was never going to play him over Zinchenko because I just thought City. I thought City would keep a clean sheet in that game, which, to be honest, they probably should have. So, yeah, it's annoying, but I hope Jota doesn't turn up tomorrow. I'll tell you that now, because I get that 14 points come in, and suddenly I've had an absolute worldie of a game week.
Oh my God! If Jota doesn't turn up, well, I'll get O'Connell 6 points off my bench, so I'd probably take that, to be honest.
So would I. I mean, I'm hoping in that cameo he tweaks something and he doesn't turn up. I mean, if I see it, it's not going to happen. He's going to start. It's Man United, but let's say he has got a slight problem. He'd even be on the bench, right, and he'd still come on. That would be even more annoying.
Yeah, for his token 1 point. I mean, yeah, it's Jota though. He's had another good game in Europe. Came on, scored that volley. I'm happy to hold him going forward. I'm looking at my team, and I'm mostly happy with all the players. The two that I'm not that happy with are Perez and Wilson. So I'm quite glad that I've got 2 free transfers and I can kind of sort that out.
I don't think I'd ever really worry about Jota because I just think he's such a class player. It almost doesn't matter to me if he doesn't return points. I like having him in my team. Like I said, and I'm convinced they will come just off the back of him being really good. So
yeah.
So nice. So you're going Martial then? Is that what you're going to do in the end? Just sum it up. Is that what you think you're going to do?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm going to see how he plays tomorrow. I mean, the thing is, I part of me wants to give Martial the Palace game because I'm thinking, if United play Wolves are a very attacking team. Chelsea, were very attacking. So United look to be playing on the counter quite a lot. Are they going to struggle to break down a team like Palace who are going to be, quite solid? If Pogba's not on form, where does their creativity come from? But then it also feels a bit like, well, that Palace game looks really good in terms of you wouldn't be surprised to see Martial grab a couple. So I think, I'm probably going to move. I'm going to move for Martial, I think. He's playing up front for United and they've got good fixtures.
Yeah, I can't argue with it.
You can't really argue with it. Yeah.
No, I can't argue with it at all. Right, is that everything? Have we covered everything?
That's it. That's my list covered. So hopefully that was useful for anyone listening.
I'm glad you heard about my transfer musings for about 20 minutes, probably. How long has the podcast been going as? What have we done?
Oh, I've got no idea. About an hour.
Oh, that's all right, isn't it? You can listen to an hour, guys, especially Monday morning. You got a whole week to listen to this absolute gold dust.
So lucky. Oh, God. Yeah, not. That's it then. Well, thanks, Luke. Enjoy your shift work over the next few days.
Oh, God. Yeah, thank you.
We'll get back to this probably Monday week at the normal time.
Yeah, see you then.
Nice one. See you later.